Latest edition, Martin and Marlow. My guy Chuck on the other end there. We'll get back to taping these in person. I know you missed that. Sitting around the pool, your backyard, not being invited inside. When does social distancing end, Chuck?
Well, the big news today, right? You got bars and restaurants going from 25% to 50%. You got high school sports, right, being played here with the higher contact sports. I don't think social distancing. I mean, is it ever going to end in terms of until there's a vaccine? I feel like even if it 100% all of our health officials, government officials say, okay, this thing is over, don't you feel like everybody's going to be a little wary of everything for a while?
Yeah, I think we're going to be freaked out forever. I did an interview with Darren Pang, and this would have been probably late March, early April. And I said, well, we got to get through this. It must have been still mid to late March because it was before everything got really crazy. And I said, hey, you're you can picture Panger, like hugging you or grabbing you, a good fist pump or whatever. And I said, you'll be back doing that in no time. And he said, I don't think so. He said, this is a game changer. He said, I don't think we're going to be seeing any of that for a long time. And I was kind of taken aback then. I was like, what? Yeah, in a couple of weeks, everybody's back to normal. I think it's going to be a couple of years. I mean, don't you walk out of every building right now and look for the hand sanitizer before you walk out? I mean, I don't know that we're going to be wearing masks our whole lives, but I mean, I guess in certain parts, like if you're in, I think it's Taiwan or certain parts of the globe where they do wear masks, you're right, just what they do. I don't know that we'll be that way in the U.S. We know that's a whole political thing, but I think in terms of washing hands, hugging people, it's weird now. Like if you see somebody you even know well, and probably a family member is different, but somebody else, if you normally give them a hug, you just kind of stop and go, oh, hey, what's up?
Yeah, and it's also very awkward because you don't really know, even if it's a person you normally would have just shaken hands with. You don't know, do they want to shake your hand? Do they not? Do you give them a fist bump? Because some people, I don't want to say don't care, but they're like this hasn't happened. So no mask. Hey, I'm going to shake your hand. And I don't mind shaking somebody's hand right now, but you don't know. You go to reach. You don't know if that person is cool with it and all that. I wonder, though, if I hate to say the silver lining because that's probably not the way to say this, but you wonder if moving forward, just overall, will we be much cleaner and safer and thinking about these things? So maybe moving forward, our flu outbreaks for a particular season aren't as bad if everybody is much more vigilant, washing hands and hand sanitizer and maybe not shaking hands as much. I'm not saying you have to wear masks for the rest of your life, but maybe also the fact that we realize it's not smart to go to work when you're sick. And I understand that some people don't have the option. If they don't go to work, they won't be able to make money to put food on the table for their kids and pay their bills. But I think there are a lot of people in between that probably go to work too much when they're sick, and that just makes everything worse. Then all of a sudden your workspace is infected and everybody else, you're coughing around them, you're sneezing, maybe you get them sick. So maybe moving forward, there will be some positive benefits from this.
I think if anything, I feel everything's gross, like that you didn't realize before. Like every door handle you grabbed before, you never thought about it. Now I look at that door handle, I'm like, man, I need to, I mean, I'm not freaking out on a daily basis, but I do think you notice so much more than you used to notice. But the bottom line is, Chuck, next week I'll come sit on your patio and then record it from you inside your house. How about that?
Sounds great.
I think I am getting to be the old guy. I'm already the old guy. You're the young guy. But I found myself on Sunday, I was listening. You know, I'm not in a fantasy league, but on Sundays, I'm flipping around the dial. And if I'm not mistaken, on Sirius XM, you know, there's the MLB channel, NHL, and I've got those programs. And I listen on occasion. Is there not an NFL channel on Sirius XM on Sunday? The only thing I could find was on Mad Dog Radio, they had fantasy football, and they're rolling through all the scores and stuff. So I flipped that on. But they kept talking about the Cleveland-Dallas game, like, oh, man, what terrible defense, Cowboys defense. And they talked about it for like 5 minutes, and I yelled at the radio and said, what's the score? Which is the old Greg Warren bit, comedian, friend of the show, where you yell. He said it was like his old uncle was always screaming, "Hey, dumbass, what's the score?" I was that guy yesterday screaming, "Give me the score." Is it possible, first of all, that I'm getting old? Yes. But is there not an NFL channel? Am I that stupid?
I'm not going to answer that. I have no idea about Sirius XM. I never really had that except for over the years, if you buy a new vehicle, they give you like the 90-day free subscription. I don't even remember if I ever used it. I feel like I did for a while because I was listening to the 80s on 8 and the 90s at 9. Maybe this was like 10 years ago. That's Sirius, I believe. I don't really listen to any of that type of radio, but I agree with you in the sense that you can't hear time and score enough on a radio broadcast where you're not watching the game and you don't know. I feel like if you said it every 30 seconds even, people would not be disappointed with that. Fantasy is just taking over everything. I do enjoy fantasy, but I think you can have too much of that. But nowadays, so much of sports, especially football, is tied into gambling. It's not just your fantasy team that you play with your buddies. It's daily. So many people play in these daily DraftKings leagues where you change your lineup every week, or you could play just the early games, right? You could have a fantasy daily for just the noon games. You could have another squad for the 4:25 games. There's all these crazy ways you can play it, which I don't do, but it's such big business right now. I understand why there's so much content focused that way.
There was also a touchdown is Gerald Everett on the Rams, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he scores a touchdown. These guys hosting. Now, this was kind of funny. They're like, "Hey, the Rams just scored," because obviously they're watching all these games at once. And they said, "Gerald Everett just scored." They go, "Oh, gross." They kept saying gross because I guess he's not on anyone's fantasy team.
Well,
and they were bitching about, they're like, "Oh, man, Jared Goff can't even run it in? Can he flip it to somebody? Oh, my God." I'm like, this is the world we live in. The fantasy geeks have taken over.
they have, and it's funny you say that. Now, I think I'm trending towards a 1-1 week. We'll see what happens tonight. I have a really close matchup there. Not that anyone cares.
Yeah, let's break it down. Let's fucking break it down right now.
My other matchup, I got smoked. And it's funny you say that, though, because I'm sure what these people are talking about is, so Gerald Everett is basically the second tight end for the Rams in terms of pass catching. Tyler Higbee is the guy that everybody owns in fantasy. And so, okay, if Jared Goff threw a touchdown pass to Tyler Higbee, that'd be great for everybody. If Jared Goff threw a touchdown pass to Gerald Everett, that would be great for Jared Goff fantasy owners, which is probably not a ton of people. But if I'm not mistaken, this was actually Gerald Everett rushing the ball in, which means nobody got anything from it.
Correct. And that's what they were reacting to.
Yeah.
Also, another sign, maybe it's just the 2020 calendar year has made everybody on edge. But I found myself, so I'm yelling at the radio to give me the damn score. And my other thing I realized I do, if somebody's on your bumper, do you have a conversation? Not if anybody else is in the car, but if it's just me driving and I'm going like 10 over the speed limit on a county street, not on the highway, and somebody's like riding my bumper, I realize I start having a conversation. And I'll look at the person like, is it an older woman? Is it a younger male? What else? Well, where the fuck do you got to be? What's your big hurry? What do you got? Soccer practice? What are you going to Schnucks? Is that a sign that I'm losing my mind or that I'm just cranky?
You're cranky. I think everybody's more cranky, though, in 2020. Everybody's tense. Everybody's frustrated. It sucks. People, I think, have too much road rage anyway. Like, think about it this way. If somebody honks at you or you honk at them, they didn't merge or you didn't let them, people immediately flip you off. Like, that's their first reaction. You would never do that if the person was standing there or if you were talking to them at the grocery store. But for some reason in the car, we just flip people off. I don't do that. But although if somebody flipped me off, I probably would return the favor. But I would never have my first reaction be flipping someone off. I remember the other day, I was behind somebody at the light. Light turns green. Now, I'm not this dick that immediately honks the horn. I gave them, couple, 2-3 seconds, and then I just gave them a gentle tap. It wasn't like I laid on the horn like, get going. They threw up the middle finger to me. Think about that. It's like it was their fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I gave them a gentle tap to go through the light, and they flipped me off. Think about that. And this just happened the other day. It was kind of funny. It speaks to what you just said. As you know, because you've been on Berry Road here, we have this endless construction project. You can hardly ever get in and out. You never know which way.
Are they building a tunnel there? The tunnel? What monster project? That's been going on. I feel like it's been going on for 2 years.
It's unbelievable. It's going to end up being, I think, a full year. So you never know, can you get in? Can you get out? There's all these barriers. So the other day, I'm pulling into the street, and you have to kind of go around these barriers. I see somebody else pulling out of my street. So we have to kind of finagle how to get in there. And then this car comes behind me, and they're not realizing why I've stopped. Well, I've stopped to let the car basically figure its way out. And, they probably weren't paying attention, whatever. So they kind of get on my ass. And I throw up my hands, like in kind of an aggressive way. Like, what do you want me to do? I didn't flip anybody off or anything. I think they realized. And then, so my neighbor comes out. I pull into my street. And sure enough, the person I threw my arms up is one of my neighbors. So I just I felt terrible about it. But I was like, what do you want me to do? But I think also people aren't paying enough attention when they're driving. That's the problem. People are texting. People aren't really paying attention.
I just find myself what was the movie with Affleck and Damon? It was like anti-religion, but they were sitting in the airport.
Dogma.
Okay, I just remember the scene at the airport where people would walk by, and they would have a story for each person going by. That's what I find myself doing when somebody's just riding my bumper, freaking Rutger Hauer and the Hitcher. I have this whole dialogue about, oh, really? Yeah, what'd you forget? Grab eggs last night when we were at the store, like whatever. I just have this whole dialogue, which I think is probably a sign of insanity. All right, let's talk baseball. I know Brad Straubinger wants more nonsense. There it is, Chuck. There's the nonsense segment, which will appease one of our loyal listeners. But Cardinals season, which we both thought, would extend beyond that first round. Not because they were better than the Padres, but it felt like a very Cardinals thing to do. And when they win game one, they had great offense, and then take a 4-zip lead in game two, everybody thought the same thing. Oh, here we go again. The Cardinals doing that. People are calling it their devil magic, or October magic, whatever, where they just dial it up at just the right time. And we envisioned that narrative where they'd win that series and then lose the next round and say, well, hey, listen, at least we advanced. But they didn't get it done. The Padres' bats exploded. So when you look at it, on the whole, they went 31-30. Granted, they had the COVID outbreak, and I'm sure it was a giant pain in the ass. I'm sure Mozeliak, Schilt, and all of the people running the team, it had to be incredibly stressful. I get all of that. But they sort of ended up the team that we thought they were. They're about a 500 team. And they hit 234, which is terrible, except it led the National League Central, highest team batting average. And then we saw the Central bow out quickly, a combined 1-8 in this wild card series round. But in the end, weren't they? This is the old Denny Green, right? They were who we thought they were.
Yes. And I think now I'm one of these people that will defend batting average in certain instances, but overall, especially nowadays, I think if you were to look at one stat as kind of the tell-all, and you could really get into the nerddom, but if you want to just look at OPS, the Padres, I believe they're fourth in baseball, and the Cardinals were down in the bottom five, whatever it was, 25th, 26th, and the Padres had a 100-point higher OPS. So that tells you right there, the Cardinals weren't even close to them in terms of offense. The Cardinals can always pitch. The last 2 years, they've been really good defensively. And you know what? Their pitching staff did get ravaged with injuries throughout this whole season, not just COVID. Think about Michaelis, Dakota Hudson at the end, whatever happened with Carlos Martinez, Jordan Hicks before the season started, John Brebbia. So I think it's fair to mention all those things. But this Cardinals offense was not going to take them very far at all. Okay? A lot of these guys they depended on. Bader was okay. Tyler O'Neill, no. We liked what Dylan Carlson did at the end. You need at least one bat this offseason. But I would say this, big picture, I like teams being rewarded for going for it and trying. That's why I think it's fair that the Padres beat the Cardinals. And maybe the Cardinals need to have some October failures to realize they need to do more to advance. The last couple of years, several years, nothing at the trade deadline. They've kind of skated by. I thought last year was fluky. They caught a matchup with the Braves. They beat them, but I think the more the Cardinals are rewarded for not doing things, the less likely they are to do things. And that's where the Padres, they traded their whole team at the deadline. And I know maybe this wasn't the year to roll the dice with a weird best 2 or 3, but if the Cardinals knocked out the Padres in the first round, I would have felt like that wasn't fair. You know what I'm saying? The Cardinals weren't even trying, in a sense. They didn't do anything. The Padres did everything.
You love sports? Sure. But what you really love is a winning team and a great story. That's exactly what you get with Appliance Discounters. It started with just 3 employees. 1 location, 3 employees. Denise Bradley, her husband John, her brother Tony. That's it. More than a decade ago. And for years, you've heard me talking about them. Here's why. My dishwasher, it's a Bosch, the quietest dishwasher on the market. Remember Grandma's dishwasher always, That's not what's going on with us. We got it at Appliance Discounters. Our washer, our dryer, our stove, and our refrigerator, and Electrolux. Yes, the Kilcoynes put these babies to the test. During the quarantine, the MVP at our house, the dishwasher, it got a workout. We've got big name brands we're talking about at a great price. St. Charles, Baldwin, Maplewood, South County, and in the city. The best bet, just get online. TheApplianceDiscounters.com. Our savings are your savings. The fountains and flags outside invite you in. Once inside, it's obvious what makes Marita Villa so special. It's the people that live there and the people that work there. I know for a fact it's a fun place to visit, been there many times over the years for special events, and you can tell the residents love it as well. Welcoming atmosphere, providing all types of senior living, independent living, skilled nursing, memory care. Marie de Villa Senior Living, that's what we're talking about. A single location. That means ownership is hands-on. The residents here are considered guests, and trust me, they feel that way. The beautiful grounds make it more of a campus-type atmosphere. I love calling it the Marie de Villa campus, located at the corner of Clayton and Weidman Road. I guarantee you've driven by there, probably seen the fountains going. Red for October baseball, blue when the Blues are deep into a playoff run. It's a family-owned facility. It's been in business since 1960, and for so many years, it was home to the Cardinals legend, Red Schoendienst. I encourage you to take a virtual tour or simply to read more about this special place. Go to mariedevilla.com.
Well, how can Dylan Carlson be your cleanup hitter in a playoff game when this guy supposedly wasn't quite ready for prime time? I know we were all clamoring for him, and they do know more than we do about a guy's development, for sure. But that same guy who wasn't quite ready, basically they said that, he wasn't quite, and then gets sent down because he's not quite ready, he ends up being your cleanup hitter. How is that even possible? Now, I have no problem with him being the cleanup hitter. And I think the guy certainly came back. Maybe he was less stressed, whatever. I'm bullish on his future. I'm excited about it. I'm glad. I was happy as hell he's out there playing. But it's a pretty big indictment that the guy who you're sending to Springfield, or you're like, listen, everybody, calm down, he's not ready, is your choice for cleanup. That just tells you have no other options. It's really, it's not just the fan who look at what Rosarena is doing, should have kept him, and look at what Voigt's doing, look at what's doing. But you start adding all of them up and saying, well, maybe just one of them. We just kept one of those guys, we wouldn't have this dilemma of nobody can hit cleanup. And I think the problem is next year, the Molina conversation, of course, is the first conversation, because do you want him back? Of course you want him back. And he came back from COVID and was even better. And in the Padres series, the guy goes 6 for 13. He's a clutch performer. And Mike Schilt gave this passionate defense, and of course he would, but he said there's so much analytics and numbers in the game. He said you can't place that on a guy like Molina, like the stuff that he does for our team, with the pitchers, but beyond that. But the problem is, what are you going to pay him for a franchise that is very careful about how they spend their money? They're not going to just waste money, although that's another topic. They do waste money. They try not to. But how are you going to say to Molina, who was making $20 million, all right, we want you back, but we got to knock your salary down quite a bit. You're towards the end of your career. Let's have you finish your career here, but we're going to need, let's take you down a few notches. if I'm Molina, I'm looking at the Carpenter deal and saying, well, what's this guy making? 19 something? And then looking at Fowler, he's making like 16 something. If Molina, the competitor, can he look in the mirror and say, all right, I'm going to make less than Fowler. I'm going to make less than Carpenter. I think that puts them in. He may agree to. He may say it's fine. I've made enough. Give me 2 years, 25. I'll do it. I mean, I have no idea, but I think they're in a bad spot. And then you're spending money, and you haven't changed your lineup at all. I think money wise, they're in a weird spot unless they're willing to blow up the budget a little bit because you want Molina back, and you're going to tell him he's making less than Fowler and Carpenter. I think that's a tough sell.
I agree. They're at different stages. Fowler and Carpenter are both, aren't they 33, 34-ish, I believe. We'll check that. Probably won't actually check it. But
who would you rather have on your team is what I'm saying. Like,
no. But my point is, I feel like we always do this in sports where we compare a contract to a bad contract. Like, why would the Cardinals sign another contract to an older player like Carpenter? The Carpenter contract is terrible right now. The Dexter Fowler contract is pretty dang bad right now for a guy who's around league average. And Adam Wainwright was making 20-ish million per year on his big deal. And the last, couple years, he's making, I think it's 8-ish, 10-ish. I know he had the incentive-laden deal, but it's also market value. Who is going to give Yadier Molina $20 million? No one. Now, and I love Yadi. Will anybody give him 15? Maybe on a one-year deal. I mean, I think what you just said sounds pretty fair. If it were 25 for 2 years, if Yadi actually agrees to say, hey, let me be the starter one more year, and then I'll split time in my second year and I'll ride off into the sunset. And he won't even like that. Let's be real. If he's playing well that second year, he's going to want to play every game. But I just don't think Yadier Molina can get a 2-year, $40 million deal right now. And I love Yadi, but that's part of the lineup issue too, is you really like Yadi in your lineup. You always feel good about him, but he can't hit fifth. He's got to hit seventh or eighth in a good Cardinals lineup right now at this point in his career.
Yeah, I want him in my lineup hitting sixth or seventh. My problem is if I'm paying him, I gotta come up with that chunk, and I still got to find some more. I don't know where the bats are, but they're going to have to find them. And then you think about what you don't have already next year. I mean, look at your rotation. You don't have Dakota Hudson. I guess Michaelis is back from injury, ? Carlos is a career ? I think rotation-wise, which was a great depth, suddenly I think I might be penciling in Gomber in my rotation. I mean, if you start right now, you have KK and Flaherty. That's what you have for your rotation next year. And after that, you have a ton of unknown.
I think you have to bring Adam Wainwright back for a couple of reasons. All those reasons you just said, the Cardinals need him. And I would think that Adam Wainwright, the way he pitched so well this year, that he would want to come back. I'm sure he and Yadi are talking a little bit. I don't know if they'll finish their careers together. But do you want to also end on this weird year of 2020, no fans? And then from the standpoint of these guys are my age, they're 38, 39. I'm sure their bodies and their arm for Adam Wainwright probably will feel much better after this year. You probably feel pretty fresh, like almost like you didn't play this year. You know, hey, I'll play another year next year because this was kind of this half season. I think that's also interesting in the sense of I still am hoping they trade some pitching depth for a bat. And it was probably going to be some of those guys you mentioned, whether it's a Gomber, a Ponce, maybe one of those guys had to be in a package. Carlos, I don't know if they want to not get rid of, but use Kisner as an asset if you're going to bring Yadi back. And now that you have uncertainty with Michaelis, you have no Dakota Hudson, who knows what's going to happen with Carlos. Now those pitching assets you could have used in a trade, you probably need them now.
You know, historically, and I'm talking the last 10 years, they usually find a bat, whether it's a Berkman for a couple of years, a Beltran for a couple of years, trading for an Ozuna, trading for Holiday. I mean, I will say that they went and got Goldschmidt. So that pressure's there again. They need to do one of those kind of moves where they get a guy, even if it's just for a couple of years, before Carlson maybe emerges as a true superstar, which is the hope. But you need at least a gap bat, somebody out there. And to their credit, they typically find a guy like that, but the pressure is certainly on. That said, the Cardinals always give you something, don't they? And there's always moments. You had the complete game on Wainwright's birthday. You had Molina reaching 2,000 hits, which is not the same as 3,000, but for a catcher, it's a notable number. And then the 3 nights in San Diego, that was kind of fun. Like all day, you looked forward to a playoff game. Each game, albeit long, was sort of riveting in its own way. You're watching each at bat. It's not the same as a normal year, but it's still playoff baseball. They still always give their fans, I feel like, a little something to hang on to. You were a playoff team, albeit a watered-down year. That's not enough moving forward, but as much as we always bitch and moan about this, that, or the other, they tend to be in the mix, and they tend to be part of our conversation. And I'm just glad there at least was some October baseball. Even though it ended in disappointment, the game 2 is what will haunt them this whole offseason. That's the game you got to win. You're up 4-0. You're up 6-2. And we could do a whole podcast breaking down that game. Why not go longer with Comber? Why not stick with, and you mentioned in the office at the time, stick with Helsley a little bit longer. You got yourself backed into a corner in that game too. But it was another year where you had some cardinal moments, things that there's so many franchises where nothing ever happens that's interesting. I give them credit for the most part. And the lineup a lot of nights is boring and hard to watch because the offense was so bad. But by October, here we are tuning into playoff baseball. I am appreciative of that.
Yeah, and if you'd have said, though, that you'd play 3 games against the San Diego Padres and you'd score 16 runs, if I had thrown that at you before the series, you'd have taken that. And the Cardinals scored 16 runs in the first 2 games, and they split them. And they're going to Game 3. And I do think Game 3, though, was kind of a microcosm of the season, except for the poor defense, because this has been a good Cardinals defensive team over the course of the 60 games. But that was kind of the way the season should have ended for the Cardinals in a fair way, because what did they do? Jack Flaherty went out there and he pitched really, really well. And I know his season wasn't great overall, but the Cardinals had good pitching this year. They didn't have good offense, and San Diego beat them, and they got shut out in the 3rd game. That was kind of the Cardinals team we watched in 2020, which was they could pitch it, and they couldn't hit. And that's why I agree with you about Game 2, but I never felt good about that game. You knew that the Padres offense was going to explode at some point. And they were the best comeback team in baseball. Even with a 4-run lead, and you're watching all these games, you're looking at the graphics. When you have a pitcher in the playoffs, a reliever, throw the 2nd consecutive day, the ERA as a whole goes up from something like, I believe it was a little under 3 to like 4.5. When you start using these relievers the 2nd day in a row, it doesn't matter who it is. And you can get away with it sometimes. The A's did that. The A's used Liam Hendricks 49 pitches. That's a lot. And the next day, he closed it out. He closed out that series. But for the most part, if you use relievers 2 days in a row, it's not going to go well.
The best in the bricks. It's more than just a slogan. Why not make your home or garage or chimney look its best by fixing the bricks? That's what B&G Tuck Pointing can do for you. Bricks look their best with proper tuck pointing. Call Rich Galati and his team at 314-363-0525. And by team, of course, we include his daughters, Bella and Gabrielle. Or go online, bgtuckpointing.com. A proud St. Louis-based company that supports the hometown St. Louis Blues. Yes, they love their hockey. Chimney repair, foundation repair, caulking, waterproofing. They do it all. Have you driven around St. Louis? We have a lot of brick buildings, and if they need repair, you know who to call. Consider me among the many satisfied customers. Call 363-0525, 363-0525, or go online, bgtuckpointing.com, and find out what it means to be the best in the bricks.
I'll tell you what, the cruelness of 2020, the Cardinals lose that game, season over, a season that for sure was really trying. And then the Bob Gibson news comes down. I thought it was notable that Yadier Molina, who we talk about, fierce competitor, essentially said, listen, this is just a game, a playoff game. And we know how much it burns him that they lose and they're done. And he said, but, losing a guy like Bob Gibson means more. And to see the present players so attached to these former players, that really struck me, because we don't get a lot of media interviews with Molina. You don't see him with too much, raw emotion like that. And Ozzie Smith said, there's a lot of franchises who have great players. He said, but I think they kind of come back and they're almost, I'm paraphrasing here, but they're almost like in the museum. Oh, look over there. That's so-and-so. He was the great. And at the Cardinals, they're sitting in the clubhouse at spring training. There's like, they really are a part of, it is pretty cool how a Jack Flaherty, who's 60 years younger than Gibson, can make a friendship. Ozzie's in his mid-60s is sitting in the clubhouse with Paul DeYoung. And I'm sure it happens with plenty of franchises, but it does stand out to me that these older guys who were legends years ago have such a great connection with the current roster.
And I think the Cardinals, I'm not just saying this because we live here and cover them, I think they do it better than almost anybody. Maybe the Yankees. I feel like they always have the old-timers days, and they honor their greats as well. But the Cardinals with the Red Jackets, that's what I've always loved about covering the team. Even before I got here, just you knew about the Cardinals. You knew about these great names. I mean, Bob Gibson, it doesn't matter if you're even from St. Louis. That was a name that's just iconic. And I got here in 2008, and you talk about those Red Jackets that were always there on opening day. And now just in that time frame, but more so in the last couple of years, obviously Stan's gone, Red's gone, and then Lou Brock and Bob Gibson in the last month. And to me, you always talk about different eras. You talk about those 1940s-ish teams and Stan Musial. And then you have the Whitey Ball era with Ozzie, and all those guys obviously are still around. But that 60s era, which was so great, and I kind of grew up learning about them from the other side because I'm around Tigers country. And you learned about the 68 World Series and the Tigers and the Cardinals, but you knew the names of Bob Gibson and Lou Brock. And the fact that the two icons from that team, Lou Brock and Bob Gibson, both passed in the last month, I mean, it's going to be a lot different on opening day. That's for sure. A lot of those icons are no longer here. That's very sad.
And just mentioning that, again, somebody that you don't necessarily think of as being emotional, I said to Mike Shannon, what will opening day be like? Hopefully we have an opening day next year. And he just started crying.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. I mean, these are not just great players for a lot of these guys. They're close friends. But Shannon had an interesting point, too, about how good Gibson was. He said, think about that era. He said, he's facing Mays, Aaron, Frank Robinson. He goes, there were Hall of Famers all over the National League that he was going up against. And they freaking lowered the mound because of the guy. Now, I didn't know him well. Some of these former Cardinals that live in town, you get to know him better. You're around him more. But Gibson, and this is 2010, we're in Cooperstown because Whitey Herzog is going into the Hall of Fame. And Dick Zitzman, who has been business manager for years with Stan Musial, and he helps these guys make money in their older years with card shows and autographs. And so Dick has been a business associate for Musial and Red and Lou and Gibby. So we're getting sound and interviews about Whitey, and I see Gibson's at this autograph signing. So I went over to Zitzman and I said, hey, Dick, do you think Bob would talk to us? And he goes, well, let me go talk to him. Now, Gibson doesn't know me from Adam, so I kind of walk over and stand off to the side. The cameraman is not with me, so I don't stand out. And I hear Zitzman say, hey, Bob, Martin Kilcoyne's here from Fox St. Louis. Great guy. Wants to just do a real quick thing about Whitey. Gibson signed autographs. He goes, why the fuck would I do that? No, I don't want to do that. And I hear him say this. So now I kind of go back where my cameraman is, and Zitzman walks over, and he goes, yeah, he's good. Don't worry about it. He's all set. And I worried for a second, like, am I getting set up? Like, I'm going to walk into a buzzsaw. But it was just like Zitzman knew him so well that he knew he was going to bark, but it was fine. So then I walked over there. I honestly was really scared because I just heard him nuke the whole idea, and there was no gray area. He nuked it. So then I walked over there, and I'm like, hey, Mr. Gibson, I'm Martin from St. Louis. I think Dixie goes, yeah, he told me. What are we doing? And we knocked out the interview. That was him. And everybody said he was gruff like that. It was part of his, Ozzie called it a defense mechanism. But the people who knew him well knew the other side, the just kind of jokester. Or as Ozzie said, he reminded him of George Hendrick, he said, who was known for being Silent George. He said, but those guys aren't silent. He said they stir it up and then they walk away, and everybody else is left to pick up the pieces once they just kind of stir it all up, agitate a little bit. But it's going to be a weird opening day. I hope we at least have one next year. Kilcoyne Conversation, Martin and Marlow, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you subscribe. iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. And Chuck, who brought us the Marlow Moments?
Oh, Marlow Moments, of course, brought to you by Kirkwood Pizzeria, by St. Louis Lawn Care. Tim Jankerson does a great job with my yad. And they do leaves, man. Nobody likes raking leaves. They'll come and do all your leaves for you. Then your neighbors will be happy. All your leaves aren't going in their yard and vice versa. He also has St. Louis Equipment. You took your lawnmower. They're actually they came and picked it up for you.
Picked it up and got the carburetor up and running. You know, I was going to fix that carburetor myself, Charlie, but I let them do it.
Absolutely. And then Corner Butcher. I think I probably go to Corner Butcher now more than any store. 2099 Bentley Plaza Drive in Fenton. They have so many great items. I usually get a couple fillets when I go there. I get all these take-home dishes, which are really good. They have Swedish meatballs, Italian beef, meatballs marinara. You can just throw them in the oven. They have this great black bean hummus because they have this Boar's Head partnership. That's fantastic. They have the best hot dogs you've ever eaten in your life. I even had somebody on Twitter ask me about it because I talk about it on the radio so much. And then also Kennelwood Pet Resorts. Otis is looking at me right now, and he's sleeping. He's snoozing. And we're going to take him to Kennelwood here in a week or so when we go on a little mini vacation. They'll take care of you. Grooming, boarding, day camp, training, all that. Kennelwood Pet Resorts.
Don't forget the great folks at Triad Bank, St. Louis-based bank since 2005. So if you're a business owner starting to look ahead, maybe the fiscal year just wrapped up or you're looking at the end of the calendar year, talk to the bank that is based in St. Louis, triadbanking.com, or stop by in person. They're on Clayton Road, about a block west of Lindbergh in Frontenac. B&G Tuck Pointing, the best in the bricks, whether it's the fireplace, the garage, a lot of detached garages in St. Louis City and made of brick. I know I was living in the city. The garage was, I actually think I got flagged by the city that the garage needed a little bit of work. And so called B&G Tuck Pointing. They'll make the bricks look new again. They're the best in the bricks. Mortar, repair, foundation, caulking, waterproofing. BGTuckpointing.com. Marita Villa Senior Living, located at the corner of Clayton and Wideman Road. And yes, the answer is yes. Fred, last week, had the fountains turned red. You know, Keener Plaza didn't have any red fountains. There wasn't going to be any pep rallies. But Fred kept the tradition alive. The fountains out front at Marita Villa, turned them red, put some Cardinal signs out. Was hoping for a deeper October run, but always festive out there. Get a virtual tour by simply going to mariedevilla.com. And Appliance Discounters, they have, I think it's 5 area locations. I should probably know this. TheApplianceDiscounters.com is where you can start the search and check out all the great GE and Bosch items. Simply type it into the search engine. Washer, dryer, stove, range, microwave, it all pop right up there. Great people, great company, theappliancediscounters.com. Charlie, I feel like this was one of our better ones. I won't be texting you after saying I'll be better next time. This was one of our better ones.
Wow, I feel like they're all great.
Yep, they're all great. Tied for first. By the way, happy birthday, LaRusso, yesterday. I was texting him about Gibson and realized later it was his birthday. And it was very token. I said, also, happy birthday. And he wrote back, okay. It's right up there with Gotcha. Chuck, have a great week.
You too, sir.